You better have a heart of steel. You look around at what's to come. You're gonna fight here to the end. You push too hard, now I make it real. Come on! We're gonna run you down, and we're gonna throw you out, and we're gonna run this town tonight, and we're gonna lay it down, better not come around, and we're gonna run this town tonight, tonight, tonight. We're gonna run this town tonight. Yeah. Come on. We're gonna run you down, and we're gonna throw you out, and we're gonna run this town tonight. We're gonna run this town. And we're gonna lay it down, better not come around, and we're gonna run this town tonight. Tonight, tonight. We're gonna run this town tonight. Tonight, tonight. Come on. We're gonna run this town tonight. Yeah, so don't come around. A bright light feels right. I can't lie. I'm sky high, sky high. It feels like lightning, burning it up in the sky, bright as the sun in your eyes. Feeling alright, I can't shine like lightning. Bright light, shine like lightning. Feels right, I can't lie. Sky high, it feels like lightning, burning up in the sky, bright as the sun in your eyes. Feeling alright, I can't shine like lightning, burning up in the sky, bright as the sun in your eyes. Feeling alright, I can't shine like
Yeah, show me my opponent. Top spot, I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep going. Wanna know me, can't call me. I remember feeling lonely. I remember when they told me I would never get the trophy. Show me my opponent. Top spot, I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep my moment. My moment. I'm a ball till I fall. I'ma answer the call. I'm a beast, I'm a dog. Hit my back against the wall. I accept every challenge. Had to battle for my balance. From a peasant to the palace. Treat the trophy like a chalice. Stayed on my grind. Great things take time. Now how I shine. You might go blind. Come along for the ride. Cause I'm headed to the top with it. Going is my only option. They can never ever stop this. Show me my opponent. Top spot, I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep going. One and only, can't clone me. I remember feeling lonely. I remember when they told me I would never get the trophy. Show me my opponent. Top spot, I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep going. One and only, can't clone me. I remember feeling hungry. Now I'm coming for the trophy. Cause this is my moment. My moment. So many days, so many nights. I had to fall, I had to fight, I had to find the strength inside, keep hope alive. Through the dark, I found my light and now I shine. So many days, so many nights. I had to fall, I had to fight, I had to find the strength inside, keep hope alive. Through the dark, I found the light and now it's mine. Show me my opponent, top spot, I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep going. One and only, can't clone me. I remember feeling hungry. Now I'm coming for the trophy. Cause this is my moment. My moment. Cause this is my moment.
welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway, and this is Countdown to Green. This is the show where we like to have lots of fun. We give you behind-the-scenes interviews with some of the drivers, give you thought-provoking analysis, and so much more. We have a lot to talk about today as we head into the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But first, we got to talk about last week's race, or a few weeks' race ago, Daytona.
Car down and in. It's Nick Ottinger's field as we say, let's go racing at Daytona.
That's what you don't want to see, having trouble in turns 3 and 4.
It is a huge pile up early at Daytona.
You know, Kyle Pettle has spun to the inside here, hard in the inside retaining wall, but it looks like it's just a single car incident. Caution flag not going to fly.
Shot again is here we go. 3 wide onto pit road. Your major players are in.
Last time, oh, but they're going to miss a wreck. Big wreck off at turn number 4. That's going to be a caution. Maybe a whole lot pushing them. No, we got a spinner in the back. Casey Kerwin around.
Caution quickly off of the restart. They scatter behind. For a spin behind, he avoided it once, but could not do it again. The 12 of Derek Justice is around. Caution inside of the final 10, and we are not done yet. One goes with, there's the accident. Malik Ray in front of the field. A caution. He looks to the outside, mains high, all at low, side by side for the race win at Daytona. 3 wide underneath the photo finish. It is Femi Olat, the sophomore for Clint Boyer Racing, is a first-time winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
All right, we got to see the Daytona recap, but I talked earlier about our analysts that really give you that thought-provoking analysis. I got to give a proper introduction to my boys, Alan Cavana and Brandon Cattell. How are you guys doing?
Oh, it's good to be back. You know, we had a great race to start Daytona. Look at how close it was, and now we get back for race 2. I'm looking forward to Vegas tonight.
Yeah, what a great debut for the next-gen car there. And, hey, look at Femi winning for Clint Boyer Esports at a super speedway. I know a guy who did that a couple years ago.
Who are you talking about?
Pat yourself on the back, man. Pat yourself on the back.
But it was kind of a interesting race that we got to see there. A lot of action, right?
Oh, absolutely. And right down to the end. I mean, one of the best finishes you can just imagine there. And what I liked about it is some of the names that we saw there, you know, really have a hot start to the season. You think back to last year, look, Femi, Garrett Main, Steven Wilson, they finished 12th, 13th, and 25th, respectively, in the first race last season. And now you go out and Femi gets the win, the victory to start the season. We have some new blood to start the season, and I think that's really good. I'm a new guy here on the scene, right? So I like the new blood starting out the season for a competitive year. Femi's in the playoffs, good start for the other two as well.
Yeah, Alan, when I look at Daytona, man, I think about the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and we saw that with Malik Ray. We saw that with Femi Olatunbosun. Femi got the win. He was so elated. He knew that he had a shot to be in the playoffs now. And then on the other side of the story, we have Malik Ray, who had led most of the race. He had put himself in position after position to control the race, as you see there, as he was early on. But late in the race, he got wrecked with 3 laps to go, and we saw how just in disbelief he was on the broadcast 2 weeks ago at Daytona. And that really puts in perspective how much a win is for these guys this season, because if you can get a win early on, that's one more shot at just getting the door open to winning the championship.
Well, we have to talk about the point standings. Brandon, what can you tell us?
Well, I look at the point standings here, and after Daytona, if you can get any kind of points at all, get through the big one, that is a huge jump on the field. As you look, Garrett Main, Steven Wilson, Michael Conti, Jimmy Mullis, Blake Reynolds got away with some points early on, and that is important if they don't score a victory throughout the season. And we saw multiple winners last year, so points can go a long way. Femi already getting the win. Now just he hopes that not a lot of other guys take advantage of wins early on also.
Yeah, definitely. Now, individual point standings is very important, but we have to talk about the team standings. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, look at them. You can see what stands out to me on these team standings. Obviously, Stewart-Haas doing well. Didn't get the win, but they are the top series right now. But look at 2311, last year's champion. Remember, the championship 4 last year had both drivers from 2311 up there, and they are off to a hot start again. Daytona could be somewhat of a wild card just because you want to make sure you get through it. Well, they were 9th and 12th, their 2 drivers, Mitchell and Keegan, last week. So hot start for 2311, the defending champion team. They're sitting right there in 4th. And just a quick shout out to that team sitting in 6th place. Charlotte Phoenix, brand new team, off to a good start. You don't want to dig yourself a hole. They have not. Great for an expansion team.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, we have a lot of races to come up in the series. So let's actually take a look at the schedule for the 2022 series with Keenan Kusin.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's strap in as we take you from sea to shining sea across America for the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Tonight, we take a flight back to the West Coast as our drivers will roll the dice in Evan Pasoko's backyard, the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. On the 15th of March, the Coke Series heads back to the Southeast into the Peach State, Atlanta Motor Speedway. Finally staying in the same time zone on March 29th, we are headed north to the home of Rise Esports at Richmond Raceway in Virginia for a bit of short track action. Did I say short track? Well, let's toss a few tons of dirt on it. For the 12th of April, it's Bristol, baby. And that's right, the first of its kind for the stars of the Coke Series, it's the Bristol Dirt Race. Up to the Northeast now. On April 26th, we say hello to Miles the Monster at the Monster Mile, the concrete jungle that is the Dover Motor Speedway. From the Northeast to the Midwest, on May 10th, we stop by the home track of Clint Boyer Racing, Kansas Speedway, as the Coke Series continues to head back south. Now the drivers come back for a home game. On May 24th, the Coke Series returns to the home of NASCAR in the Queen City, Charlotte Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina. In our final race of the opening half, we head to a brand new venue for the Coke Series. On May 31st, we fly by the Gateway Arch and say hello to the Worldwide Technology Raceway just outside of St. Louis, Missouri. After 2 weeks of R&R, we're back on track June 21st as we head to the Music City to tackle Nashville Super Speedway for the track's first ever Coke Series points race. 11 rounds in, for the first time this season, we're seeing some right turns. Just after Independence Day on the 5th of July, we return to Cheese Country in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and Road America. Right after that, we head to the Appalachians as the Coke Series stops at the Tricky Triangle, Pocono Raceway on July 19th. Another few weeks to catch our breath as on August 16th, we head to upstate New York as we tackle the newly rebuilt Watkins Glen International. For our final regular season race on August 30th, what better place to stop than the track too tough to tame, Darlington Raceway. Our first round of the playoffs takes us back to the only repeating venue on the schedule. Brush away the dirt, we're headed back to the Bristol Motor Speedway on September 13th. It wouldn't be a NASCAR season if we didn't take a trip to Sweet Home, Alabama on September 27th. Anything can happen at our second playoff race, Talladega Super Speedway. The penultimate race and your last chance to punch your ticket into the Championship 4. On October 11th, we head back to the Sunshine State and the fan favorite Homestead Miami Speedway. One race to go. It's the finale, October 25th, 2022. It is time for the showdown in the desert as we crown a NASCAR champion at Phoenix Raceway. Oval road courses and for the first time ever, dirt. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series schedule.
That was awesome. Thank you, Keenan. This is the schedule that Keenan was just walking us through. And, you know, we like to talk about Daytona was our first official race, but we're going into Las Vegas now. I feel like we're going to get a little bit more serious as we go in. What are your thoughts, Alan?
Yeah, look, we got through 1.5 miles coming up here in just a little bit, but everyone should be circling that Bristol dirt race. That is a wild card for somebody. Some dirt expert can punch their ticket to a playoff just by winning that race. I'm looking forward to that one.
Brandon, how about you?
Well, I take a look at Bristol dirt. Obviously, we go to Bristol twice, and how completely different can they be? Both races. One, we have the concrete, one, we have the dirt. And hey, guys, Daytona is over. I think the real season starts tonight here at Las Vegas.
All right. Well, you're right. The real season is going to start here tonight, but we're just going to have to wait and see as we inch closer and closer to the race. But for now, Alan had a chance to catch up with Letarte drivers, Letarte Esports drivers. I believe you have them on the sidelines waiting.
But yeah, look, they're getting ready to go tonight, but Brian Mercurio is joining us now. And, we can, being a part and joining this team, Brian, as you did this year, Letarte Motorsports, what is it like working with Steve Letarte? Is he really hands-on, a big part of the team?
Absolutely. Steve's an awesome guy. He's been involved not only in just trying to negotiate and tell us, especially for me so far, and our sponsors and all our different brands that we're going to be working with this year. He's always excited to see how we do, and he's really enthusiastic and everything. He loves to see the progress that myself and Dylan are making. He loves to just check in every so often, give us an update on what we should expect in terms of sponsorships and everything. He's like, and he just basically says, you guys kind of have an understanding of what you want to do, how you want to promote yourself. I basically say, hey, this is, I have some ideas. I want to try something. What if I, or for example, for our announcement video, I had a good buddy of mine who I said, hey, Steve, I got a buddy of mine who can make some videos. How interested would you be in that? He said, that's awesome. Yeah, it's been great. Steve's been a really nice guy. He's been really hands-on, and it's awesome to be able to work alongside somebody like Steve Letarte, who, coming into this whole thing, I never imagined I'd be on a first name basis with somebody like him and get the chance to talk to, but it's been a really awesome experience so far.
That's really cool to hear, Brian, especially from someone as successful as Steve Letarte. But I also have your teammate at Letarte Esports here with me, Dylan Alt. And Dylan, I know they're expecting big things tonight. You are historically really good at Las Vegas. What is it about this track that gives you so much success?
I've always liked Vegas just because of the amount of lanes we get to choose. Every time I run there, there's always a different lane to run. Just either the bottom, there's a few bumps down there in 1 and 2, but I always personally like to run the top, and I always usually get runs on people. I can try to block people's runs because in the next gen you're going to have huge runs. The amount of draft you're going to have down the straightaway is just, the speed is insane. You can't really run away from the pack, I guess, because I recently just did a race, and the pack was very strong. Everyone's spreading out among the track, and yeah, it was just a fun track to be on. I've always loved the track, so yeah.
Yeah, great to hear from both drivers at Letarte Esports, especially given their experience, and you would expect them to be doing well tonight. I would expect both of them to be in contention tonight.
It's great when you get a chance to catch up with drivers and hear about the tracks that they're looking forward to, and what they love about this track in particular, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, having the different lanes to choose from. You never really think about that.
No, especially, at a track like this, 1.5 miles, this might be different than other 1.5 miles that we think about on Sunday. But yeah, I remember some of the truck broadcasts that I would do. There is something of a draft at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You don't always think that with the 1.5 miles, and hearing from the drivers and what they're experiencing in practice, to know that there might be a draft, a pack tonight at Las Vegas with their next gen car, that's something to look forward to.
I think the coolest thing we're going to see tonight, we're going to see people searching for grip, and that's the scary part. Once they start searching, that's when the wrecks start coming.
Well, we'll have to see if any wrecks do happen. But for now, we are going to Vegas. So why don't we have a little fun with a fun game I love, Roll 'em or Fold 'em. This is the game where we're going to talk about storylines and ask questions and get each other's takes on whether we'll roll it or fold it. So the first one, Will more than one driver get their first win in 2022? Alan?
I say roll them. Go with it. I do think we'll see another winner. We saw a first-time winner. Again, I'm the new guy here. I want to see more new people come to the top of this sport. I think we see more, and the competitive, how competitive it is for the playoffs is going to only get even more competitive, if you will, when we have new winners.
Brandon?
Honestly, I think.
Well.
I think we have another question after that.
Yeah. It's okay, Brandon. Yeah. So, will we see a repeat winner in 2022?
Oh yeah, I think for sure we will see a repeat winner in 2022 because we have guys like Ray Alfala, Michael Conti, Nick Ottinger, who are just excellent drivers at cars, very on the edge, very low grip, lots of horsepower. You're going to see those guys who are really good at honing their skills on these type of cars do very well throughout the season. And I think another factor in on this, we've had all winter long for these teams to work on their setups. And if somebody gets in early on a setup adjustment that works out for them, they will not win once. They will not win twice. They will probably win 3 or 4 more times.
All right. Well, speaking of wins, Alan, will we see 10 different winners in 2022?
10 different winners? I say fold them. No way.
Ooh.
Look, 10 winners in 19 races? I know we saw a lot of winners last year, but I just don't see it happening again. With the next gen car, it's a real wild card. If somebody hits it with their talent, with their setups, maybe they can win a few races. We've got a few 1.5 miles coming up. There's multiple road courses on the schedule. So 10 different winners out of the 19 races, I just don't see it happening. Fold it, Camille.
All right, there you have it. Not so hopeful. Brandon, is the Bristol Dirt Race going to be the biggest playoff hurdle for drivers this year?
I'm going to have to fold on this just because we have so many different opportunities for drivers to get a chance and get a win on this season at tracks at like Worldwide Technology Raceway. We have a couple road courses in there. We have Nashville Super Speedway, which we saw at the All-Star race last year, which I took part in, and that race was crazy in itself, but we're going to see 40 cars out there this time. So I think we're going to have a lot of different opportunities for drivers to win this season.
All right. I love all of it. I love it. All right. Ryan Luza has won 4 of 5 Las Vegas races. Will he get his 5th race in 2022? Alan.
Ooh, I say fold him. Yeah, I mean, clearly he can win Vegas. Do I think it will happen tonight? No, I do not. That's why I'm saying fold him. Look, I just like unpredictability. I don't want someone, the favorite, going in there and win. And clearly with his track record, he would be the favorite tonight, but I am leaning toward unpredictability. I think someone else will win, someone else pretty good on those 1.5 mile tracks. I'll reveal that later. So no, fold him. Sorry, Ryan.
Still rooting for a fresh face on the track, I guess. So will the next gen car provide the opportunity for a former champion to rise back to the top, Brandon?
I think without a doubt, I think we're going to have to roll on this one. Just because, like I said earlier, Ray Alfala, Nick Ottinger, Michael Conti, Ryan Luza, those guys love cars like this, and I think this next gen car is their bread and butter. So I think without a doubt, if they have the setup underneath them, they can go out there and win lots of races this year and go for a championship.
All right. Well, one winner of last race was Femi Olatunbuson. So we actually got a chance to talk to him about the diversity in eNASCAR.
I'm from Revere, Massachusetts. It's just outside of Boston, and honestly, Boston is the best city, and if you disagree, you're wrong. I've loved racing my entire life, and my parents say it all the time, like, all of a sudden I just started watching racing, and it's literally just been a part of me. NASCAR, Formula One, cars in general, like just everything, every form of racing has been something I've been heavily interested in since, I guess, I was born. Sports have been a huge part of my life, racing included. I played baseball growing up. Baseball was my first love. I've been competitive in everything throughout my life, and sim racing was no different. After I stopped playing football, iRacing started becoming that go-to for a competitive sport. I found sim racing and iRacing around 2013. Previously, I was just playing a bunch of racing games on the computer and on my Xbox. I found iRacing through YouTube, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And the more I raced, the more I wanted to get better. And the better I got, the more I wanted to get to the top level. I found out my true pace on iRacing around 2015. I raced with guys like Marcus Richardson, Bobby Zelensky, Kyle Putz. When you compete with those guys, you're like, wow, you know, my pace is becoming fast, like really quickly. And then you're just like, okay, I'm gonna keep going with it. Getting to the Coke Series is a very, very lengthy process. My first season running Road to Pro was 2017, and I missed the top 20 cup by 1 point to Timmy Hill. And then fast forward to 2020, and so I missed the top 20 again by 1 position. Luckily, Christian Challenger dropped out the series that year to become an iRacing employee, so I was able to take his spot. I got the invitation to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. That was it. I was like, I finally made it. And it was crazy because when I got on the service in 2014, I never thought it would happen. I thought my rookie season was gonna be amazing. Maybe not playoffs amazing, but I expected to finish top 15, and I was, driving for Joe Gibbs at that time in the 18. We get to Atlanta, and I got wrecked while running decent, and the season literally went downhill from there. Like, I really knew the season was gone at Michigan, and I still had a chance to make the top 20 and lock myself into the series for the next year. And I ran well. I was making a move towards the front of the pack very late in the race, and everything was going great. And then just pack racing, what can you do? And I got involved in a wreck, and at that point it was like my chance at top 20 is just completely gone. So that was the point where I knew I had to reassess everything about the season. I had to change my whole approach. It's very interesting when you look at the Coke Series field and you see 3 of the 40 drivers are minorities. There's myself, Malik Ray, and Corey Vincent. And I feel like the 3 of us have personalities that are able to, reach a broad audience, and a part of that audience should hopefully be, a lot of minorities out there, whether they're fans of NASCAR or sim racing in general. And I want people to look at the 3 of us, myself, Corey, and Malik, and think, that could be me. I want us to be ambassadors for iRacing and for NASCAR to look at us and, hopefully get inspiration. Like, NASCAR isn't just targeted to a specific audience, like it makes people who come from different backgrounds and are way younger want to open up to something that's been kind of shielded from them, or kind of looked at in a way that, this isn't for you. This isn't something for you. And NASCAR has definitely changed that image where it's like, it's for everybody. Being the first Black world champion on iRacing would be monumental for me. I feel like that would solidify me as an ambassador on the esports side of racing for Black kids or minority kids, or anyone who looks like me or sees me and relates to me and wants to be like me in the future. You look at somebody like Lewis Hamilton, and so many people have been inspired by Lewis, and if I were to win the championship, that would just be crazy to me, because I would know that now I'm inspiring so many kids to grow up and be like me on the esports scene. Knowing how many people like I was influenced by and am influenced by in esports, for me to be that person would mean a lot to me. I'd be a role model to people I don't even know and may never even meet, but they'll look at me as somebody, that's inspirational for them, and that you can't put that into words. That's just unbelievable.
I loved hearing everything that inspired Femi in this, and you can actually catch the full interview on iRacing's YouTube channel. For now, though, we're gonna bring on the excitement because it's Twitter Rigs time. I love it. This is my favorite game where we get to take a look at your rigs at home. This one's from, I know, 45. Wow. Alan, your thoughts?
Oh, I love it. Love the triple screen. Love the wraparound. Nice dark, vibe going there. I like it. Good job, guys.
I can't tell if that's a mirror or, oh, well, here we got the next one here. Look at this one. This is, I guess, is he driving, or he or she is, are they looking at the monitor to the right while they're driving?
Hopefully not. Hopefully
that's a legit
not.
seat right there.
It is.
Our next one here. Oh, this is a really wide monitor. We went from a small one to a ginormous one.
Yeah, love it. Love the wheel. Love the big screen. There's some guitars over on the right, so a lot of stuff going on here.
I love it.
All right, we got a triple monitor here. Look at I love what he has right there. He's got his wheels hanging right next to his little plaque there. It's got his name.
Personalized.
That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of custom woodwork. Custom woodwork. I applaud that.
I wonder if David did that himself.
Oh,
and
all right.
Wow, this is the behemoth of screens and RGBs.
Wow. Yeah, 4 screens, cool lighting, and you're watching the football game? I mean, multitasking. That's
got
great.
it all. This is the man cave right here.
Yes, definitely. Did we just have 2 Davids in a row? Nice. I love it. Davids are stepping up their rigs. I love it. Remember, this was brought to you by Logitech. And right now, we're going to talk about the track as we head into Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Brandon.
The Las Vegas Motor Speedway, founded all the way back in 1996 in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Things to watch out for tonight, guys. There's a lot of bumps of 1 and 2. If you hit those bumps wrong, you will shove the nose very hard and hit the wall very hard off of turn 2. Trust me, I've done it before. It is not fun. Turns 3 and 4, just as sketchy. There's a little bit of wind off of 4 that you will always get right up underneath you, and you'll easily spin it around. And Vegas is one of those races, guys. Anything can happen.
Yes. Anything can happen. And also anything can happen in terms of our picks, because we have a little side bet going. Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see if we could work out a side bet based on these picks, but our picks are brought to you by Playseat. Let's start with Brandon. Who's your pick for this race?
Well, when I think of Las Vegas, I think of Elvis. And Elvis's catchphrase was taking care of business. That's what Ryan Luza is going to do tonight. He's going to take care of business. He's going to go right back to victory lane at Las Vegas.
Low-hanging fruit there. Must be nice to get the first
Got to
pick,
gain the points back.
You take it. You're in a deep hole. I'm going with my boy Logan Clampett. Look what he did last year on the 1.5 mile racetracks. I mean, a win in Atlanta, top 5 in Kansas. He had a 2nd at Texas. Las Vegas, a 1.5 mile racetrack. I think that talent rises to the top. And you know, team owner William Byron, he could use some good luck. He hasn't had the best start to his Cup Series season. So we're going with Logan Clampett. Get the win tonight, buddy.
All right, I'm going with Femi Ola. You know, fresh off that win from Daytona, I feel like it's going to take him the extra mile. Last year, he finished in 6th on this track. And I really think that his energy from the win at Daytona could push him through. These were our picks brought to you by Playseat. Now it is time for the race to start. But first, let's party because we are in Vegas. I love that we have this set up, but more importantly, I love that all of you at home were able to watch Countdown to Green. Enjoy the race.
See ya.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
They say that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. But maybe it begins with one single start. Turn, bump, grind, pit, pass, win,
That's crazy what happens on the last lap here.
and celebration. In NASCAR, that journey starts here. I am the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. I am NASCAR.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
This is virtual racing with real life stakes.
I just really want to win Vegas again.
Hey Alfala, it's for sure a threat to the competition.
My number one goal is to get back in victory lane.
I'm gonna just go out there and control what I can control.
The road to $300,000 speeds through the Silver State, where tonight from iRacing's virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 2 of the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And happy that you're with us once again as this journey towards the eNASCAR Championship continues here tonight in the gambling capital of the world. As always, happy that you're along for the ride with us alongside Blake McCandless. My name is Evan Pasoko, Blake, and we are going to learn a lot here tonight. Yes, we got things underway at Daytona a couple of weeks ago, but there are still plenty of questions around these NASCAR Next Gen Cup Series cars, and a lot of answers will be found here tonight with our first look at an intermediate track with 100 laps on the docket.
You're certainly right, Evan. I think the one thing that this past weekend showed us from the NASCAR Cup Series is how much we still have to learn about these cars. We loved what we saw there, but for this series to come here and kind of have the quote-unquote season start, as a lot of drivers would like to call it, after not having so great luck at Daytona, they have a lot to learn, and I think we're going to get a great litmus test tonight of exactly how these cars are going to drive. I think it's going to put on a great show. I was racing with a lot of these guys last night, and I tell you what, this track is wide open, multiple grooves. It's going to be a great show here tonight.
It should be, and qualifying has already drawn to a close, so let's go trackside to get things kicked off and hand things over to longtime track president of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Chris Powell, for the most famous words in motorsports.
This is Chris Powell, president of Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're very excited about tonight's event. And now, drivers, start your engines!
2 for 2 in 22. Nick Ottinger will start on pole position tonight for the second week in a row, alongside Junior Motorsports' Michael Conti in second position. Keegan Leahy for 2311 Racing will be on the inside of row 2, alongside Derek Bordeaux with the E-Racer Group. Dylan Alt and Ryan Luza will find themselves on row number 3, with Bobby Zelensky and Matt Busa. Row 4, Mitchell DeYoung, the other of the 2311 duo, will start alongside Joe Gibbs Racing's Ray Alfala. That is your top 10.
And Steven Wilson, who came so close, lost by just a couple thousandths of a second last week inside of road number 6. Kyle Peddle to his outside in the 12th position. You have William Byron Esports' Logan Clampett next to Garrett Maines for Elliott Sadler Esports. Cody Bias, who ran out the inside of road number 8. Vicente Salas to his outside. Number 19 of Williams Esports. Graham Bowl and Dylan Duvall make up row number 9. And Donovan Strauss, Casey Kerwin, 2 drivers I got to catch up with in Daytona, Evan. They ran out your 10th row.
And now you get to the midfield portion where you'll find that Anna Michael Guest for Jim Beaver Esports alongside Charlotte Phoenix's Colin Keister. Behind them, Garrett Lowe and Liam Brotherton will double up on row number 12. They're ahead of Corey Vincent's number 3 for Team Dillon Esports, and Judah Motorsports is number 88 of Briar LaPrade. Last week's winner in Daytona, Femi Olat, starts 27 tonight alongside with Brian Beccario, driving for Steve Latart's Latart Esports. Jimmy Mullis, Alan Bowes, the top 30.
Taylor Hurston, 31st, 32nd. Came oh so close last week was Malik Ray for iRacing Motorsports. Colin Bowden, 33rd. Parker Retzlaff in 34th. Zach Novak, probably my favorite paint scheme in this series. That beautiful Sunoco Chevrolet, 35th. Blake Reynolds, 36th. And Evan, as we get to the rest of this field, drivers who did not post a time in qualifying, Derek Justice, Nick Shelton, Blade Witt, and Caden Honeycutt either couldn't pull a lap, maybe scraped the wall, or just couldn't get it done. We saw a lot of trouble at Auto Club for the Cup Series, so no shockers there that we have a few DNQs tonight.
And that's going to be fun to watch as well. 40 drivers at a full field here this afternoon. And James, you're standing by with our pole sitter, Dick Ottinger. He started on the pole last week in Daytona, led the most laps, but was only able to get a P27 in that one. The 25's looking to improve on that here tonight.
For the second race in a row, William Byron Esports, Dick Ottinger on the pole. And Nick, given what you've seen in practice and over the racing you've done here, how do you think track position is going to matter given the unpredictability of this new car?
I think you said it right there, unpredictability. So I don't really know a direction that's going to be best served. Anytime you stay out front, it's going to be a little bit more controlled for your own destiny and stuff. And luckily, our TSM Logitech G William Byron Esports machine had a good qualifying effort again this year at Vegas. And, we got 2 in a row, but, we got to get these wins kind of out the way early this year. And, credit to our William Byron Esports team and the iRacing team back, just all the time we put into, get this pole position. And, it's how you finish these races, and the unpredictability as far as how this draft is going to be pretty strong and stuff like that. It's going to be pretty difficult to navigate. But we're up for the task, up for the challenge. And try to take it easy on this first, start of the race and see where we bring our machine at the end of the race.
It's your 2020 Series champion looking to finish off tonight where he starts, P1.
Thanks for that, James. We'll be checking in with you on the pit lane as tonight's race goes on. And Blake, one thing we talked about at the start of the year was the shorter races here on the intermediate. So not going to go as far to call it a sprint, but it's a bit of a shorter one as we look at our race analysis.
Exactly right, Evan. 150 miles down to pit road speed 50. This is a deceivingly tough track to get onto pit road here from a green flag pit stop. Lose a little bit, somewhere between 27 and 30 seconds of a delta. You have 3 tire sets, which I don't imagine they'd use all of them tonight. In that fuel window, anywhere from 50 to 54 laps. I've seen drivers go and maybe stretch to 55 or 56. So should be a one-stopper, but of course tonight with these cars tough to handle, they may get a couple of cautions to help with that.
And as always, the ticket to the postseason is on the line as the pace car dives off it in and gives the field in control of the 25 Chevrolet of Nick Ottinger. And we say, let's go racing in Vegas. Ottinger gets some space towards the front of the field with plenty of side-by-side and 3-watt action in the middle. Some drivers all the way on the outside wall in 3 and 4. That includes the 19 machine way up top of Vicente Salas, where lap number 1 goes to the 25 up front.
And I think you're going to see that particularly in 3 and 4. Oh, we got a spinner hard in the outside wall and chasing it down the racetrack. A couple more will get involved. It's Dylan Duvall who saves it, but you can see the 24 machine of Cody Bias there in the back of the field and a couple of stragglers. Caden Honeycutt, Nick Shelton get wrapped up in that one. And caution flag early in this one, Evan. We talked about the difficulty of these cars, and it sure reaches out to bite some drivers on these cold tires on lap number 2.
And it came out of nowhere, really. I mentioned 2-3 wide action, but there was just a little bit of staggering there. And I think the replay will show when we take a peek. Cody Bias had a really big run, tried to fit into a gap that his number 24 Moda Media House Ford Mustang would not fit. There he is on the bottom. Watch the 19 to Salas coming up the outside. He approaches a slow Kyle Peddle and just tries to jump the line up top. And I mean, the 19 to Machida was already there, almost reminiscent, Blake, of what we saw over the weekend with Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, a car trying to go high, but it was a little bit too late. Although this time, consequences far worse, because when the 24 got turned into the fence, it took a lot of race cars with him there, because that thing kicked off from the top 15.
It certainly did, and that's why you heard Nick Ottinger talk about that track position being so important to this race. You didn't want to be caught in the back. Take, for example, Caden Honeycutt didn't put a qualifying time down. I'm sure that wasn't intentional, perhaps just got loose or just didn't get the lap that he wanted, scraped the wall, spun, what have you. And right now, he's going to have to head to pit road with required repairs. Same for Nick Shelton, and obviously Cody Bias there, who started in the middle of the field. A tough break for him. And Evan, my heart just breaks for so many of these drivers racing with them, knowing the hundreds of laps they've put in the last 24 hours to get prepared for this race, and to have it in before you reach lap number 3. That's just so tough for these guys who put so much work into these cars.
It's a tough pill to swallow. They're certainly going to be working with that damage all night long, and we saw what happened involving Cody Bias's number 24 machine, and James Pike is on the radio with him.
I do have Cody Bias for Kyle Long's Motorsports. And Cody, wild start there. What did you see out of your front windshield? What happened from your perspective?
Just a racing deal. I was cleared up. There was just a checkup in one there, and I guess we all just stacked up and got hooked into the fence. It is what it is. It's a shame. I think we got a really good Mode Motorsports Ford tonight. I wish we could have had a little bit better TV time for obvious reasons. It sucks for everyone who got involved in that mess on lap 2 or whatever it was, but we'll move on to Atlanta and try to get them there.
Do you like what you saw just with the 1.5 mile package? I know you didn't get a lot of race time here, but you feel like there's promise going into Atlanta in 2 weeks?
Yeah, definitely. I think this car definitely puts it back in the driver's hands. It's just restarts are crazy, and yeah, that's why unfortunately we're on the short end of the stick here tonight, but sometimes you'll be on the other side and luck out and get through messes like that. But like I said, I think you're going to see a heck of a show here tonight. Unfortunately, we're pretty toast here. We have like 10 minutes of damage, so it's unfortunate. I think we got a good piece, and yeah, let's go back and look at the replay to see really what happened.
Not a lucky break here for Cody Bias. He'll try and go down to Georgia to fix it when we go to Atlanta in a few weeks, Evan.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. And, of course, we talk about Kyle Long's Motorsports and their involvement in this series. Blake, the team owned by the Kansas City Chiefs Guard, has, I think, the most veteran driver lineup out of all the teams in the series, tied with 19 years of experience between their two drivers. Cody Bias in year 9, Matt Busa in year 10. So certainly a lot of experience in that Ford camp, and just an unfortunate end for Cody Bias here early, which will set us up for a quick restart, which is 5 laps behind us.
It certainly will, and luckily you have kind of the flip side of that coin with Matt Busa up here at the inside of row number 3, so has a little bit of track position and may not be the end of the night for Mode Motorsports, but definitely unfortunate there for Cody Bias.
25 once again going to be in control of the field with the 8 car of Conti alongside. Let's take this in from the perspective of Dylan Alt. It's our Coca-Cola onboard camera. well behaved up towards the front of the field. Looks like drivers trying to get to the outside line as your top three have single filed out. And Derek Bordeaux's 42 Blue Emu Camaro down on the inside. Lucy down in a battle there to the 45 of Keegan Leahy as he takes control of the number 4 spot. Now, Bobby Zelensky is going to bring his Interstate Batteries Toyota up on the outside. Another spot loss for Bordeaux. Looking like that 42 car wants to get up top to where everybody else is. The bottom's open into the corner, but it's those runs off that the outside has been getting the advantage of, and it's a whole lot of that progressive banking here at LVMS coming into play.
Well, it's not just a lot of the progressive banking, it's the bumps at the bottom of 1 and 2. As obviously, if you want to feel the bumps at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, all you have to do to learn more is to scan the QR code on your screen to get all the news and latest updates from eNASCAR. And of course, you can sign up today with the official simulation partner of NASCAR on iRacing. So pull out your phone, do it on the QR code, and of course you can visit iRacing.com/eNASCAR to learn more information about the series, and of course look at the driver's standings. We were looking at it in the pre-race show, and of course we're only one race in, Evan, but a lot to be decided here today, and a little bit of shuffling already with a couple of drivers who didn't have so much luck at Daytona, faring pretty well so far tonight.
Yeah, drivers will always go into the season opener a little bit pessimistic, right? They're expecting a subpar result, but if they get out of there in the green, that's a good thing. And, you know, seeing teams like Clint Boyer race it up towards the top of the field, I know has to feel good for that team early in the year. And we'll see if that can continue through here in the second round. And again, we said a lot of questions going to be answered here tonight over the course of the next few weeks as well, in terms of how these cars will handle with this package at racetracks like this that make up a bulk of the calendar. Up front, though, the 25's not really able to get away. You see all the fighting going on behind him. That 4 car of Ryan Luzo way to the very inside for second. Michael Conti's number 8 Chevrolet, meanwhile, all the way to the outside. Some 3 wide further behind them as it's that 40 of Dylan Alt way up top. So these drivers not struggling at all to find different places to put these race cars. They are struggling to get away, though. Throw them under a blanket. 15 cars within 9/10 of a second of your race leader. And here is Ryan Luza. You heard it on Countdown to Green. He basically owns this facility, Blake, a 4-time winner in the Coke Series here in Vegas. And he's trying to challenge for the race lead, but Conti's going to give Ottinger a push up top as they both try to shake him off.
Going to be tough to overcome those 2 close friends giving each other a nudge as we go on board with Ryan Luzer. You can see exactly what he sees. Really tough to get back to the throttle on the bottom of the racetrack, and you're going to see working into the picture there is Michael Conti running all the way on the wall of 3 and 4, Evan, and that is a place where Conti, looking at these races, these practices that these drivers have been doing, Conti is perhaps better than any driver I saw throughout the last couple of days, can make that outside line right against the wall work. He'll duck down to the bottom of 3 and 4 this time, but Conti is making that wall work for him. I wouldn't be shocked if that's not the last time that we see him work up there to try to work around a veteran who's had so much success here 4 out of the last 5 years winning as Ryan Luza for XSET.
Michael Conti, the second most veteran of drivers, but a spinner off it into turn number 1. It looked like it might have been one of the Williams cars, and it's Donovan Strauss upside down and in the air. It was one of those Williams entries, and there is not much left of that chill blast machine as we saw it spin off and onto the apron. Like, my immediate hope was that the car would stay down there, and very clearly he ended up coming to back up the banking and into traffic, and it resulted in a huge impact for him, as well as I think the 36. I saw Brian Mercurio with pretty heavy damage as well. A huge hit there puts us under our second of caution at lap number 14 as we take a second look.
And where you're going to see it right here, Evan, I cannot believe that the first 2 cautions we've had have been getting through the tri-oval into turn number 1, but you see Strauss tries to move up. Dylan Alt's there, perhaps fishtails a little bit, and right there, Strauss is just along for the ride, tries to lock it down, comes right back up into traffic, and of course, a vicious impact for him. He goes up and over, but like you mentioned, Brian Mercurio, Taylor Hurst, I believe even someone else, Parker Retzlaff, may have gotten just a little bit of damage out of that, as well as Zach Novak. So early on, a lot of cars here at the back of the field in particular getting some damage. And both incidents as well so far, Blake, have been with car-to-car contact. I know a lot of the concern has been obviously you got off throttle time. These cars are pretty unstable. We'd see people getting loose on their own. Not necessarily the case early in this race. Do have a little bit of pit strategy, though, kicking things off. Your top 20 opt to stay on the racetrack, but second half of the field's got a lot of takers at lap 16. One other point I think we should mention is we saw with our Asus race analysis is that these drivers could make it a one-stop race on a fuel because of the yellows. I don't think that's going to be the case as we go back to James Pike. He's with Donovan Strauss.
Indeed, with the William Esports driver and Donovan, turn one's been really tricky here, it seems like, in the opening stint of this race. What happened from your perspective in that incident?
I don't even know. I just got really tight under Dylan in the tri oval, and I was lifting as much as I could, and I just kept going up, and I clipped his left rear, and I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. I have no words right now.
Was it anything unexpected, just given the nature of the pack racing with this next-gen car, something that you just haven't had much experience with?
Sorta. I didn't expect it. I just went straight right there. Like, I lifted to try and stay down, and I went straight, and I didn't even try and go up and get behind him. So I don't know.
2 tough breaks in as many races for Donovan Strauss, who definitely could use some home cooking in Georgia in a few weeks to get the season back on track, Evan.
It's a tough break for him, and again, really not much hope of coming back from that incident. We'll take another look at how all of this unfolded into the corner. He mentioned it was getting a little bit tight. You can see Dylan Alton lined behind Garrett Maines, maybe a little bit lower as well than what the 20 machine was expecting. And again, you try to save that car, but the time you realized it was past gone, though, Blake, he's locked it up here, but that thing's got so much speed, and as well with the radius of the corner, you're not avoiding that. A couple of drivers barely squeak through. Some go high, some go low, but yeah, they just ran out of real estate there, and that's about as big as a hit as you'll see. And already 4 drivers off of the lead lap early in this race, courtesy of those heavy bits of contact. And what it's doing is allowing Nick Ottinger to breathe. I know that he's been under fire on both of those runs. Conti, Luza all over him, but he's able to log laps led here into the yellow. He has led all 16 so far. Well, and it's good for these guys up front. Obviously, you're missing all the accidents back in the pack. You're not going to pit with so few laps on your tires. The tires will fall off, especially the first 20 laps. You can gain a lot from those fresh tires, but at least for these guys that are up front, there's just no way that they're going to be able to withstand losing their track position going all the way to the back. They're going to go down the running order, and when we come to the restart the next time by, we'll get the onboard perspective with Mitchell DeYoung and the Logitech G onboard camera. He's been pretty quiet tonight, sits at 9th position, I should say. That is exactly where he started. Couple of movers here and there. Ray Alfala +4, Stephen Wilson +4, but most of these incidents again have happened kind of towards the midfield portion, so your race leaders really haven't had much time as well to make some big swings. But again, we did see some pitch strategy there, which will be interesting to follow. Your guys up front going to be on 17-lap-old tires. Blake, yes, very aware, not 17 laps of green flag running on those tires, but the fresh rubber is going to start with Michael Guest on back, 26th position on through. I think certainly they're going to need some green flag laps to put those to use, but again, there is that whole overarching conversation of the pitch strategy being pretty clear-cut on a green flag race that may get a little bit muddy here as pitch strategy takes over effect with the yellows that we've seen. Well, and with those yellows, you think these guys at the back of the pack, I've seen guys go almost 60 laps on fuel with this, and you think you get a little bit of cautions to save fuel. That may have been your chance to come down pit road, so if we do get a long green flag run, this will definitely play into the hands of these drivers that have come down pit road, but I don't think we're done just quite yet, Evan, of seeing these wrecks. I think these cars are just a big handful, and particularly 20th on back, these guys are racing very, very hard. It's the onboard perspective of Mitchell DeYoung with the Logitech G onboard camera. Pace car off and in, and a green flag with 82 laps to go in Vegas.
can feel those bumps. You can hear those bumps as well, Blake, on the bottom as these drivers try to wrestle these cars through. They sound a whole lot different in the corners than they did a year ago, dropping about 30 miles an hour from corner entry to center off. And look at this, 3 wide in the midfield.
3 wide in the midfield. And how about that save? Shout out to Steven Wilson for being able to save that car. But you see Casey Kerwin, middle, Busa on the bottom, Garrett Lowe on the top. And this is where Busa, in particular, is in such a tough spot. All those bumps on the bottom of the track. You see Kyle Peddle right in front of Casey Kerwin, checks up. That's going to stack him up. They're going to look 4 wide as they work into 3. A big sin there for Kerwin, who's inches off of Peddle. Contact made. Peddle up the racetrack, 4 wide and nearly into the outside wall. He'll save it, but my goodness, close quarters there.
And Kyle Peddle's in trouble. He was in 13th position, but had a big moment there, and he has already fallen outside of the top 30. He is still out of control, back in traffic. So Kyle Peddle losing this race at a blink of an eye there as he just tries to get this machine settled back down. Kerwin, a steady hand, was in the middle of all of that 3 wide. Now he's on the outermost lane of 2, trying to chase that 21 Machida Garrett Lowe in front of him and make it a pass on Matt Busa underneath him. The 75 Machida Busa down 8 positions from the start of this race, and Kerwin's going to go top to bottom now, takes the middle lane down through 1 and 2, going to go underneath Dylan Alt. So high line, low line, doesn't matter. They're trying to make moves, but I mean, there have been an awfully lot of close calls so far in this race, and at the center of all of this is Logan Clampett cracking the top 10. You're on board with his number 97 Chevy up top. Look out, slow exit for Leahy as they dive underneath him.
You have so much more to look for with this car, Evan. All these drivers checking up, losing control, and you can see, just look at Logan Clampett's shoulders and how much they move in the center of the corner. This car requires constant focus with how snappy it is with the racket pinion steering. There's just so much focus. You could see Clampett there. He's doing what I do. He's not even blinking right now. He's so locked in tune there. You see another Logitech counterpart right in front of them there in Mitchell DeYoung. But there's just so much focus. These drivers are on a knife's edge every second. And this is what they ask for. They love this type of driving. They love for it to be hard. So we take a look up here. There's Nick Ottinger, Ray Alfala side by side. And Alfala, he has been scooting. Started 10th and is all the way up to 4th.
I mentioned earlier that Michael Conti was the second most veteran of all the drivers in the series, competed in his 12th season, and of course second only to the 4-time champion Ray Alfala, who has competed in all 13 seasons of this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, and he has done a good job up 7 to get to the number 3 spot at the moment. Michael Conti also now taking over the reins at the front of the field, was able to find his way around Nick Ottinger on that most recent restart. Ottinger has been sliding back in traffic. He's all the way down to the number 6 position right now, and it gives the WR1 Sim Chassis Chevrolet Virginia Motorsports an opportunity to get up front and lead some laps. I know we talked about the dominance that Ryan Luza has had here in the past at Vegas, but Michael Conti is somebody else who has had much success here, 2-time pole sitter here in the past. So he knows his way around this place and is getting an opportunity to lead up front. You're on board with Alfala, though, trying to chase down those top 2. The mid-pack still riddled with 2 3-wide battles, but your leader's trying to get a little bit of separation from everybody else as we are quarter distance through.
Well, and I think the one thing we're seeing here, Evan, and I talked to Michael Conti a couple of weeks ago in Charlotte about this car and what he kind of thought his prospects were for this season, and he said, I'm more confident now than any season in the last 5 or 6 years. He thinks that this car, he had a lot of work with it prior to the season, and it just fits right into his hands, something that's hard to drive, something where you're having to lift a lot, you get a lot of off-throttle time, and I think it's no surprise that drivers like him, like himself, that were around back in the day in this series. Drivers like Michael Conti, Ryan Luza, Ray Alfala, Bobby Zielinski. I mean, you're getting the best of the best at the front of the field, and I think that's by no accident. I think with the challenge that these cars provide, you're going to see up at the front the best of the best, and perhaps even a resurgence for Ray Alfala, who has stuck around the series, hasn't had as much success, but I think this is his opportunity to get back into championship form as we're nearly 3 wide once again, back here for about 14th. Well, and to that point, we take a look at the Chaos Mid-Pack. That's what our Countdown to Green analyst Brandon Cattell said on Twitter, that the top 5 right now are some of the very best drivers that can drive the cars on the edge. And we encourage all of you tuning in to be a part of the conversation. Use the hashtag eNASCAR and let us know what you're thinking of the on-track action here. 30 laps in from Vegas, taking a look at maybe some 3 wide further down the road, but the big green egg number 9, Michael Guest, opts not to do so. And I look off at the back of Steven Wilson. He's able to seal off, at least for the moment, the 19 car. Look at the twitch there down low for Mitchell DeYoung. Twitched like it got down to the apron. I think that was just the bumps on the inside of 3 and 4 that upset his entry. He got out of shape, and Steven Wilson is dialed in right now in the number 12 position, I should say. Pretty, close to where he started this race, constantly fighting, constantly playing defense, and up on the outside, the better place to be. He'll clear the 23 down low. Well, remember when these guys used to give us a little wave when we showed their onboards? They know they're on the broadcast. They give a little wave. Nobody's giving a wave right now. So big moment up front. Bobby Zielinski and Ray Alfala. Looks like Alfala got into the outside wall. They save it. But a big moment there for Zielinski. You could see the gap that creates forward to Derek Bordeaux. But a big moment there. It looks like 2 of the best in the business able to navigate that without any further trouble.
It's just every lap, somebody's changing lanes, somebody's up on the fence, somebody's getting loose and sliding it back. I mean, I think that this car is everything these drivers wanted. They want something that's tough to drive. It's exactly what they've got here. You see that bright green 18 is Zielinski that we've touched on several times. He's up to 4th. Posted it at Ottinger around Ray Alfala, back up to 5th. So Ray slides down to the number 6 position. But, I mean, you do have some space to work with up here towards the front of the field. There is a challenge coming from behind as Garrett Mays is going to go under Alfala, but Bobby Zielinski, the driver to Fresno, California for Joe Gibbs Racing, competing in his 6th season in eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series competition. Blake is one of only 7 drivers to have at least 10 wins in series history. And you take a look at the replay in the bottom right-hand corner. That is why Ray Alfala lost some of those spots, and he made up a big moment there, nearly to the outside fence. He did a good job of catching it. He obviously scrubbed off some speed, but that's some good wheeling there out of the driver of the 51 Toyota.
Well, not just the 51. How about Nick Ottinger right behind him to not make that any worse? These guys, even behind the wreck, it takes a couple to make a wreck happen, and these guys were lifting pretty well. But how about the run since that contact? Zielinski, Ottinger starting to make their way forward. You have really the top 5 here under a blanket. Conti for Junior Motorsports, Ryan Luza X-Set. You got the E-Racer outfit with Derek Bordeaux, Bobby Zielinski, Joe Gibbs Racing. And of course, we've been talking about Ottinger running at the front all night long, and even Garrett Maines has started to work his way slowly through the field. Biggest mover up here in the top 10, started 14th, and is moved upward to the 6th position.
Garrett Maines, somebody who had a real good start to the season. I know that when you finish 2nd in the race, it doesn't feel too good, but I know about 2 weeks later, P2 in Daytona looks a whole lot better than the 38 spots that were behind him. And here's your look on board with Garrett Maines in the number 6 position. On to a pretty good run right now. The ChevyLiners.com Camaro on the bottom. Lots of chatter as well, Blake. And, obviously the teams, the spotters, the crew chiefs giving a lot of feedback, but there's a lot of driver input as well, it seems, tonight. A lot of talk back and forth, the driver to team, and maybe that's why they're not so quick to give us a wave or a nod like they are typically, as there's a lot of back and forth going on right now.
There certainly is. Speaking of back and forth, another driver into the outside wall is down pit road for repairs. That is the 55 Space Station Gaming Toyota of Alan Bowes, who is sitting on pit road and looks like he's going to join a long line of cars who have had some issues in this one. So tough break there for Alan Bowes after what happened last week as well. But still looking up front here, Evan. Great battle here in Maine still. I mean, we saw him on board there. Car's looking like it's handling pretty great, and he is pulled right up to this line of leaders as Brian Mercurio. You can see the slow car there up on the top. Everybody else having to navigate around him.
One thing we talk about when we start a new season is silly season, right? New faces, new places, but that is not the case, at least for the driver duo of Rise Esports. Back again with Zach Novak and Jimmy Mullis. Of course, a rebrand of what was formerly Richmond Raceway Esports, but Rise has got a couple of series vets, both Zach and Jimmy in their 6th year of competition, and running right now back-to-back as they sit in positions number 20 and 21 respectively.
I know that doesn't sound great, but they are both significantly in the green from where they started, so they're moving up through the field. And talking about more team cars, how about the 69 of Colin Bowden? The second of the E-Racer entries is also on the move. And in fact, Bowden is your biggest mover in the field, plus 17 positions from where he started this race. And he's working his way through the right-hand side of your screen in the battle for 14th position. As on the left side, we keep an eye on those drivers in the top 5. And yes, to the top 5 on the left side of your screen, and saw a big wiggle, I think a little bit of smoke out of Colin Bowden, and running some races with him earlier in the day. That was the biggest concern with Colin Bowden, was he was very fast, but again, these cars snap really easily, and he had a lot of trouble kind of keeping it over the long run from snapping around on him. But like you said, doing a decent job all the way back up from 33rd. We talked about these short races, track position being so important, but we have seen, Evan, I think, a lot more movers through the field than I would have anticipated here with a 150-mile race. Not a lot of time to get it done, but I think these guys are proving if you have the car to do it, you can certainly pick your way through this field.
You know, it's my favorite stat, how many cars just started inside of the top 10 that are still there, and we've got 4 who started in the teens who have now been able to get themselves into the top 10. So certainly a lot of movers early. Of course, some of the incidents were part of it, but you know, there's not a ton of guys down 20 spots, down 30 spots from wrecks, right? You got a lot of people +8, +7. There's equally as many drivers -5, -6 on this green flag run, really giving drivers an opportunity to work their way through the field. And as you get a little bit of separation, the 3 wide becomes 2 wide. Drivers have more opportunities to make some moves. We are almost halfway home from Las Vegas, and Michael Conti has led the most laps. He's led 23 and is in control. We'll step aside for a moment. You're watching the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
There's a reputation on the track, being built this very minute.
He's made his own history!
One that embraces the crazy.
Oh my goodness!
The fast. And the unpredictable.
Everett's gonna win it at the line!
That looks into the eye of the competition and screams, bring it. Loud enough so the whole world will see it coming. I am the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I am NASCAR.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
And back live from Las Vegas, coverage of tonight's race brought to you by Coke Zero Sugar. With zero sugar and refreshingly delicious is Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, the best Coke ever? Try it today. By Asus, the official PC and monitor of eNASCAR. By Logitech. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedal set of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And by Playseat, the official racing chair of eNASCAR. Just as we closed in on halfway home, a caution flag. Well, we were side by side there, and it is now a double dose of trouble, Blake, for the Mode Motorsports team. We talked about the issue with their first car, and this time it caught the 75 of Matt Busa out when Garrett Lowe got loose in 4.
Well, and you see there, Evan, he hit that white line right on the apron, and that is going to do wonders to upset the handling of that race car. Unfortunately, Busa, just an innocent bystander. A nice job from Michael Guest to avoid some. Parker Retzlaff does a nice job going high there, the spinning 21 car. But just, again, real unfortunate there. That's how on edge these guys are in these cars, and a very small mistake will make a pretty big difference. As you see, the damaged car of Cody Bias up at the front, but he's going to get a wave around. He is several laps down, but a change for the lead on pit road. E-Racer's own Derek Bordeaux passed Michael Conti under that round of pit stops under the yellow.
Let's take another look at this incident, this time for the perspective of the number 9 division. Michael Gast behind all of this on his big green egg Ford. You can see the loose in front, the collection, and maybe, 6 inches to spare as he went down to the inside, and he is lucky to survive that one. A lot of drivers went through the grass. Fortunately, not too many drivers were collected in that incident as bystanders. And you mentioned Derek Bordeaux, the junior driver out of Quebec, one of 4 Canadians in the roster here for 2022. The second half of the E-Racer team does take advantage of the trip down to the pit lane and leapfrogs second place runner Michael Conti to now go to the very top of the board. So Bordeaux going to get his first lap sled on the night. The difference was in the stall, 14.6 seconds for his 4 tires at a fuel, 15.0 for Michael Conti, and that about a half a second difference was the difference maker to put Bordeaux to the top of the field, James.
Yep, here with Matt Busa. And Matt, just take us through that incident and how wild this race has been so far.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild. Actually, a little calmer than I expected it to be. I thought we would have a lot of 3-wide racing and mainly 2-wide. But from a driver's standpoint, it's really difficult to choose what lane to go in. Sometimes the low lane looks like it's making ground, and you go down there and there's stack ups and the high line just trains you. Other times the high line might look like it's the way to go, and then before you know it, the low line is training you. But yeah, for the incident there, I saw Garrett getting loose. He looked pretty loose the whole run, and I just tried to go around him there, and he overcorrected into the outside wall. So I think that's 2 weeks in a row that somebody on the inside comes flying up the track into me, but that's how racing is. You have some bad days. Hopefully you have some good days to make up for it.
We'll try and get the car repaired and get back out there, see if you can't pick up a few more points before the race is over.
Yes, sir.
Let's check it in with the driver of the 19 machine. We'll see how this one shakes out. And kind of an interesting point here, strategy-wise, we saw pre-race that in the 50 to 54 range was our fuel number. This restart will have 51 laps to go. So should it have green flag racing, it'll be awfully tight to get into the end of the race. Certainly yellow flags in the second half of tonight's race will help. But as we saw early, any more yellows will lead more drivers to the pit lane for fresher tires later, and that could change things up. But the pace car will dive down and in. We'll put 49 laps behind us and take 51 laps to go, and we'll see what the 41 Blue Emu Chevy Camaro, a Derek Bordeaux, can do. He's in control. Green flag back in the air. And as we race off down into turns 1 and 2, we ride on board with the play seat on board camera. You're on board with Vicente Salas on the inside.
Well, and by the way, Evan, correct me if I'm wrong, Vicente Salas involved in the first caution. It has a little bit of nose damage, but here he is right on the outskirts of the top 10. An incredible recovery drive there for Salas, who had some close quarters there as well with Casey Kerwin in turns 3 and 4 when he's got 3 wide in front of him.
Yeah, after that early incident, he was running in 37th position in this race, and now it's a single digit if he can get one more spot as he rides tail end of the top 10 at the moment. Oh, and that's going to be trouble into the outside wall. Goes the 18 machine. It was Zelensky off at turn 4. They're going to try to funnel 3 wide to get around him, but I think he will survive. Right side damage on his machine, though, after he got a little bit loose on his own, and a belt collected to Kerwin and Luza behind him.
I cannot believe, Evan, that they did not crash there. Zelensky got loose at the worst part of the corner. They were 4 wide on the exit. He hit the wall. I don't know how that wasn't a bigger accident. An incredible job by the rest of these drivers to make that happen. And it's such a hard spot as we have trouble in the back of the pack. One car to the outside wall. I believe it is the 88 of Briar LaPrade, and Malik Ray also involved as well. But tough luck for Briar LaPrade once again. Didn't have the run he wanted at Daytona. This is, I'm sure, not how he wanted to follow it up.
And I think the replay is going to show us both of those drivers innocent victims in all of this, as this incident happened way back in a battle for 28th position. Was a little bit of a nothing burger back there, 2 wide, a decent amount of space in between all the cars. And what we'll see is that it was the number 12 iRacing to forward a Derek Justice on the outside. Doesn't really get loose, doesn't really step in a line, but as he comes off the corner here, just lets it go a little bit high, just into the outside wall, and it snapped down. Got the 7, got the 54, and got the 88 of LaPrade, and Justice doesn't get away scot-free. He's got damage on that 12, but certainly it was the other 3 drivers who took the brunt of that impact.
And that's tough right there. It was almost kind of an exact replica of what happened to Bobby Zelensky a lap earlier. Just scrapes the wall. Right as the safer barrier kind of goes away in the tri-oval here on this scan of Las Vegas, and unfortunately for Justice, gets into the wall, gets the car upset. Throws his teammate Malik Ray into the outside wall. So, sure, again, the second week in a row, I believe, Evan, we had Ottinger and Clampett get each other last week, and I think Derek Justice and Malik Ray for iRacing Motorsports, they're the 2 that collect each other there. As we'll get another look from Briar LaPrade's onboard here. I'm not sure there's much that Briar could do here, Evan.
Yeah, he was almost through. He's all the way on the fence, and right there, just got tagged. And the unfortunate part, of course, is there's a lot of grass to spin off into, but that thing rotated all the way around 180 degrees too quickly with just how hard he got hit on that left rear quarter panel, and it did end up into the outside wall, and it's going to be some pretty significant damage. That's going to force the 88 machine down to the pit lane for damage as we check back in with James Spike.
With Derek Justice, you got caught up in that, and Derek, like, car was coming out of 4 one moment and sideways the next. What did you feel from behind the wheel?
Just I went high and 3 and 4 just to get the run. I just barely tapped the wall and just bounced off. Unexcusable, stupid mistake. It just got a good run off turn 4, and I thought I had a little bit more racetrack to deal with, and I didn't, and I took out a teammate. So pretty unexcusable. Just driver error, nothing wrong with the setup or anything. It's just on me.
Did you expect the car to react the way that it did, given the contact that you made, or was that more exaggerated than you thought it would be?
It caught me off. I mean, I haven't hit the wall that hard in this car yet, so yeah, it was kind of unexpected. Actually, I thought it was just going to be a little baby bounce, but it just bounced like a damn, I don't know, whatever it is. It just bounced off like a basketball.
Part of the process of trying to figure out the unknowns of this car. I think everybody's still learning. It's learning experience for all the drivers, including Derek Justice.
When it's a tough break, I know we mentioned off at the top, Blake, drivers who got a good result at Daytona are happy with that. Most of them kind of go into an opener a little bit timid, right? And listen, it's a long season. Derek Justice, 40th place finish last week in Daytona, now involved in an incident here. I mean, once you start to set just 2 bad weeks together, it's awfully difficult to take yourself out of that hole, not only in terms of course, trying to be a top 10 car to race for a championship with, based on how competitive this series was last year, almost indicates you need a win, but even just to be a top 20 car to stay here for 2023. 2 bad weeks in a row, not how you want to kick off your calendar.
And I think we heard as much from Femi Olot. By the way, wonderful piece there in our Countdown to Green segment of the show. A wonderful showcase of Femi Olot after his win. But that was one thing that Femi really talked about was last year his season didn't get started off on the right foot, and he was never able to garner back that momentum. As we take one more look there, you see Justice into the fence, and my goodness, just by the thinnest of margins, Briar LaPrade gets wrapped up in that wreck. But it is a case where you go through 1 or 2 races for guys like LaPrade who have been involved in 2 incidents, for guys like Derek Justice. The bad start to the year can really have an effect on your preparation, on your morale. It's very important in this series to keep that morale up.
And somebody who's had a good start to the year is Michael Conti, the driver to Concord, North Carolina for Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Junior Motorsports. WR1 Sim chassis on his 8 car. You can get a nice look at it off of the back of the pace car here. Michael finished 4th in that season opener in Daytona, and of course is no stranger to success here on Tuesday nights. An 11-time race winner, including a driver champion back in 2014. Looking, at least here, indicating, of course, with the good, really strong technical alliances as well behind him, Blake, that they have got at least an upper hand on learning these cars quickly. Long season, everybody's going to catch up, but certainly I think, like we're seeing in the real-world NASCAR Cup Series, the teams that got things figured out early, certainly able to get off of the blocks pretty hot.
Oh, you're exactly right, Evan. I think we're going to see this trend kind of continue for the first 2 or 3 races. We saw a lot of the same drivers, alliances, teams up at the front in qualifying in this race. And as they continue to learn how to drive these cars on the 1.5 miles, like we saw in real life, I mean, Eric Jones had a spectacular run at Auto Club earlier this week. And I think that's just adding to the parity of this. Not as many components to adjust on these race cars, but the ones who do figure it out with how close they are in speed, they're going to have a pretty big advantage.
Pace car off it in. Let's see what the 8 and the 42 can do on the front row. Green flag flies. Still 41 laps to go here in Las Vegas. It's a decent jump for the 8 car on the inside. He's 3 car lengths ahead as they go off to 1 and 2. Conti is going to move up to avoid the bumps there. Ottinger back to P2 as he's clawing his way back to the front of the field.
And it looks like Ottinger going to be able to clear for second. Derek Bordeaux safely in third. And still Brian Luza finding a way to just hang around. He'll scrape the apron, though. May wash up a little bit. He'll check up that inside line. But luckily, not too much damage. Going to lose a little bit of time here. You see on his outside, how about a driver we haven't mentioned much tonight? Charlotte Phoenix's Graham Bolin, making his presence felt up here in the top 4. So he moves to the outside. It gives Luza a little bit of side draft. And now Steven Wilson will be the lone driver left on the bottom. We'll get a little bit of help with Casey Kerwin.
Back in traffic, Kyle Pettle's going to have to serve a drive-through penalty. That leaves us with 33 cars on the lead lap as we work right now. And here's the perspective of your Daytona winner and only driver right now in the postseason. And Femi Olot making some passes up high. You can see him in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. I don't think he's blinked since we've jumped on board with him. A lot of those subtle wheel inputs, though, through the corner. And again, combined with the onboard, gives you a good look at those bumps, how they kind of got to walk these cars up to the outside wall. And he's got a windshield full of Colin Keister in front of him. Those 2 cars in 17th and 18th spot right now. And a couple of drivers way up to the outside. Guess gonna try to slide underneath all these drivers.
Mitchell DeYoung hard into the outside wall. Single car spin, but my goodness, what an impact as Mitchell DeYoung got a little bit sideways off of turn 4, got shuffled out. Believe he got a bad bump, but a hard hit here right at the start-finish line.
And it was tough to tell, was he merging to the middle or was it a little bit of a move up by the 3? He certainly lost speed coming off of turn 4. We saw Alfala basically hit the eject button when he was running behind him. Ray tried to get out of there, went underneath him, and I think as Mitchell was trying to regain some footing, he tried to walk down in front of the 3 of Corey Vincent. Let's see it here. Vincent looking to the middle, and I mean, certainly looks like Mitchell wanted to get in there before that gap closed, Blake, or otherwise he was certain to lose more spots, and just enough of a touch, maybe a millisecond too late to make that decision, and it was a heavy impact into the outside wall for Mitchell DeYoung. Fortunately, everybody else was able to avoid him.
And that's the case. He got a little bit loose there, chased the car up the racetrack. Even Alfala had to do a little bit of an evasive maneuver right there, but you're exactly right. Made that move just a touch too late. I think actually if Corey Vincent wasn't a Chevrolet and had the little pointed nose on the front of the Camaro, I think maybe he gets clear, but unfortunately that pointed nose he was enough to the inside, and that was enough to get him out of shade, and Mitchell DeYoung destroys that Logitech Toyota, a team that had so much success last year. Going to put him certainly behind the wall in this one, James.
Yeah, here with Mitchell DeYoung from 2311, Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin's outfit. And Mitchell, just looked like a case of trying to make sure that you didn't lose too much track position. How tough is it to race in these situations when everybody's so bunched up? It's almost like plate racing with this car.
It's super tricky, especially on the restarts. The cars don't handle the best, especially on the short run. And, we're all just trying to get everything we can out here. I was unfortunately on the wrong side of it this time, and I have quite a bit of repairs. So we're going to try to get it as fixed much as we can. Maybe we could get some points out of it, but, we'll get a long season. But this is not what I was hoping for, because I felt like we had a really good shot at it.
Feel like anything that you learned tonight may transfer to Atlanta, might make that race go a little bit better for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the racing, getting used to that, just anything we can do is super helpful with this car. Just getting mileage in. It's new for all of us, so just kind of understanding it and knowing how to build from here. So we'll see. Hopefully we have something good for Atlanta once again, and can have a little bit better finish of this one.
Not the race that the Championship 4 driver from a season ago won at Evan, but like he said, plenty of time to make it up starting in Atlanta in 2 weeks.
It is going to be a work in progress as that team looks to look forward. And, we mentioned we're going to learn a lot at a racetrack like this because we have the Atlantas and the Kansases, the Charlottes, and other, of these intermediate racetracks on the docket for later this year, including, of course, a pretty critical one in Homestead when we get into the last race of the round of 10 for the playoffs. So learning process, everybody kind of hitting on the same notes. Blake, drivers, not really knowing how the car is going to react when they get into the fence, or certainly I think a lot of drivers have picked up on the fact that they don't want to lose momentum, really desperate to stay in line if they get a little bit out of shape. I mean, on several occasions, we've seen a driver either get loose on their own or make some slight contact with the wall or another car, and by the time they get their foot back underneath them, they've lost a dozen, 2 dozen positions. So, certainly the off-throttle time gives these drivers the ability to kind of catch back up quicker, but on the long straights here at Vegas, you get a little bit out of shape like that, it does take you a little while to recover.
Well, and you have to think, Evan, if you're struggling here, it's going to continue all season long. I know just last week I was reading Steve Letart's book, Leave the Way. Great read, by the way, if you want to check it out on Amazon. But he was talking about coming out west. You start the year out at these 1.5 mile tracks, and this is the real start of the season. This is the real barometer of which you're going to measure your competition by for the rest of the season. So if you're having issues with the car handling here at Las Vegas, if you don't bring that speed to this racetrack, that's something that's going to carry over. You're going to see a lot of these drivers, I think, at the front of the field who have what we were talking about earlier, that early jump on the car, at least a few things figured out here in the early going. I think you got to make sure you learn it fast, and if you don't, it's going to be long sledding. So I think when you look up at the front here and see the strong runs that some drivers like Ryan Luza, Derek Bordeaux, obviously Ottinger and Conti have controlled this race, this bodes well for the future and the types of racetracks we're going to keep visiting.
As we get 1 lap to go to the restart, James Pike also standing by with Graham Bolin.
With Graham Bolin to Charlotte Phoenix. And Graham, what have you learned so far? What can you expect, and what can we expect of these final 30 laps?
Protect the outside. These Conti cars are pretty good, so try to beat them, but just protect the outside. I worked my way up from like 17th, so just avoiding stuff. Just want a solid top 5. If a win is there, I'll take it, but just trying to claw back after what happened at Daytona.
Figure at this point, Evan, there's going to be a few rolls of dices as well. It is Las Vegas after all, right?
You might as well. This is the place to do so, and it's getting close to closing time. Not that the casino's ever shut down, but certainly running out of time in this race to make those final couple of moves. Do want to mention as well as we come to this restart, a shout out to Logan Clampett in the number 97 machine, making his 100th career start in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series here tonight. He becomes just the 16th driver ever to do that, and you can see the 97 machine on the inside there of row 4. So big shout out there to the Logitech G Chevy driver of Logan Clampett for that very impressive milestone. Speaking about some vets, we're on board with Keegan Leahy. He takes to this restart from position number 10. Green flag back in the air, 33 laps to go.
And one thing as we ride on board here with Keegan Leahy, listen to the shifting. I wonder if these drivers shift before they get to turn 1 if they're already in 5th gear. It sounds like he's in 4th, but that's one thing driving this track, Evan. I would rather be comfortable in shifting to 5th gear before getting to turn 1, but it's different for all these drivers depending on the gearing ratios that they're running.
When you mentioned as well, you're able to run with a lot of these drivers. Is look at Leahy, not much space there on Vicente Salas, just about got into him on their way through the corner, but now he tucks back in line. I mean, what was the sentiment amongst the drivers about shifting? Obviously, it's a sequential gearbox in the Cup cars. Here on the Sim, drivers have a lot more flexibility on how they would like to navigate those 5 gears, but first time in this series, we've seen a car with 5 gears.
Well, again, I think I was in the minority that I like to get to 5th gear, not carry that momentum at high RPM. It just really upset the handling of the car. And I think that's one thing we'll have to watch in the NASCAR Cup Series this weekend as well. Do you ride 4th gear all the way through turns 1 and 2, or do you shift it into 5th, get a little bit of a lower RPM, try to make it so the car's perhaps just not turning as fast and over-rotating? But these guys, they figured it out, whatever they're doing. I was running the top of 3 and 4 all day. Some of these guys have, some haven't. Just depends on the handling of the car. As we look out of the visor of Colin Keister, another driver who has solidly been running around the top 10, starting to kind of creep his way towards it.
Yeah, has made a couple of positions up in his Charlotte Phoenix Toyota. He'll slide down ahead of Femi Olat in the battle for 16th and 17th. And now you see all of the racing up the road. You got to wonder, where do I go next from here? Corey Vincent is in the middle of all of that. On board his Coca-Cola Chevrolet. He'll slide up, get in front of the 40 car of Dylan Alton. Going to give him a push down the Nellis straightaway there. You can see on the inside line that 95 of Casey Kerwin kind of lost his momentum, lost some spots, and even up the road there, that 45 of Leahy twitching a little bit in 3 and 4. Vincent's got to be patient there as to not force the 3 wide as he looks to get inside of the top 10. Ahead of these drivers, mostly single file. You see some 2 wide up the road. That's the battle for second, and Derek Bordeaux had a big moment up there. He'll lose several positions, and Ottinger's going to go to P2.
Ottinger moves up to P2 as we look at Parker Retzlaff. And the one thing I'm looking at all of these onboards, Evan, is, big stack up here and one car to the outside wall. It is Keegan Leahy, Dylan Alt, hard impact with the outside retaining wall. And we'll go under caution once again as they're not done yet. Pile it in.
It is a big mess, and just when the field started to get some spacing, break away from some of that 2 wide gridlock, you see it all falls apart, and Leahy, the primary victim in that one. We'll step aside, though, inside of 30 laps to go. The run to the checkers is next from Las Vegas.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
Hey, can we show you something?
I'll allow it.
Something new. I love surprises.
I mean, really new. Like a new car.
Well, this looks fun.
And a new schedule.
Hang on. We're keeping the road courses, right?
Yeah, Chase. We got you. And a new legacy in the making.
Hey, I just want to race.
New garages to call home.
Vamos, amigos.
And a whole new reason to love what we love.
Burnouts. Winning. Racing.
I am NASCAR.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
Back live from Las Vegas, coverage of tonight's race brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Asus, the official PC and monitor of eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love for driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedal set of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. And by Playseat, the official racing chair of eNASCAR. Working under a caution flag as we get set to enter the final quarter distance of tonight's race for the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We take a second look, Blake, at the reason we're under the yellow this time, and it was Keegan Leahy. He was out of shape the lap before, this time much more severe, and as they scattered to try to get around them, coming together below, they end up 4 wide, and then several drivers into the outside wall.
And Evan, it's so hard when, and man, a hard impact there for Zach Novak into the outside wall, nose first. This is just one of those situations. You're racing against the best drivers in the world, so it's tough to know if they're going to save it or not. But, James, I believe you've caught up with Zach Novak.
I do indeed have the Rise Esports driver out of Clinton, Connecticut. And Zach, you almost had it clear there.
Yeah, not really much I can do. My spotter called inside or to go low, and I saw everyone kind of stack up in front of me, and I jumped middle just because I didn't want to get caught in a massive stack up, and then just got caught in it. Nothing really I can do. Just really, really frustrating and unfortunate. I think we had arguably one of the better cars in the field, but really hard to judge that if I'm racing with a damaged car the whole race. So just big thanks to everybody that supports us, and definitely a very frustrating 2 first weeks of the year, but we can definitely rebound from it. So it is what it is. We'll move on, and it happens.
We also have 2311's Keegan Leahy with us, and Keegan, you were just dead center of that. Not much you could do to avoid it.
We're about to go green here, guys, but been hard to hang on to all night, but I'm still in it, so we'll see.
Tricky work for these drivers, champions, 2 of them, and stuck in a whole bunch of stuff, guys.
And they're going to be way back there with some torn-up race cars trying to catch up with 24 laps to go. Battle for the race lead is on. Michael Conti is locked up the most laps led. Now he wants to go for the race win. Green flag back in the air. He'll clear early. Quickly tucking in line is Ottinger. Single file, first, second, and third. The battle's going to be for 4th position with Boland underneath the 42 of Bordeaux. And now here comes Logan Clampett, 3 wide on the inside.
Oh boy, close quarters here. Is Luza able to get clear for 3rd? Bordeaux going to use that momentum, use all that draft. Casey Kerwin into the back of Steven Wilson. How about Vicente Salas there, ripping the top groove? He's going to have a huge run. Bordeaux into the fence. He collects it. They're going to be 3 and 4 wide on the front straightaway. Oh, hard hit for Logan Clampett.
Clampett is destroyed. The caution flag is out, and it is a huge incident going down into turn number 1. That one all stemmed from some of the chaos in turn number 4, and it just kind of discombobulated the field enough to set up that, and Clampett, who was running in the top 10 for most of this race, is absolutely destroyed.
My goodness. And again, this is the trouble spot. I never thought, Evan, that we would see this many wrecks on the front stretch, just past the start-finish line into the tri-oval. It's been such a funneling spot. Guys get loose off of turn 4. We saw Bordeaux. He saved it, and just in the funneling, in that chaos, I believe Logan Clampett was on the apron, thought he was clear to come back up, and Steven Wilson getting pushed himself from Casey Kerwin. Couldn't really check up for him to come back up, and Clampett cuts across and just destroys another Logitech car. It's not been a good night tonight for Logitech, hasn't it?
And there's so many of these incidents that have been solved by less than a foot, right? If you had an extra foot in that battle for position, drivers may have been clear and it would have been a different story. Let's see how it all unfolded. It starts with a 48 of Graham Bolin getting a little bit loose right there, push it up into Derek Bordeaux. Bordeaux ends up in the wall. That's why we're 4 wide here on the front straightaway. And then right there, Clampett trying to come back up from the apron. He probably would have been clear of the 10 Blake if not for a last second push. Casey Kerwin gave a bit of a shove to Wilson, and I think that closed that gap much quicker than the 97 was expecting. He turns up very clearly over the 10 and gets turned directly into the outside wall. The 19 machine gets damaged, so heavy damage there for Vicente Salas. The 10 is Steven Wilson involved in the incident as well. The 9 of Michael Guest gets torn up. Derek Bordeaux as well. I mean, that was the big one, and we already talked about how many big names had damage. That population of damaged race cars is growing, which is leading to quite the interesting battles back in the 20s and 30s, and is giving midfield drivers an opportunity to crack the top 10 now as more major players fall back. We'll see the next look on board with Femi Olat.
It certainly is a long list of drivers who got taken out of that. Derek Justice will get one more look at it here on board of Femi Olat. And golly, it just happened so quickly. And then kind of the second wreck happens. You see, Derek Bordeaux up into the outside wall. Tough for him. And Femi, really nice job of hanging on to that race car with how out of control it is. And James, you've caught up with Logan Clampett, probably not too happy at the moment in his 100th start.
Logan just kept right there, really tricky racing in the middle of the pack. What did you feel?
I mean, it's just all crazy. I mean, this car and its draft right now is a little ridiculous. You know, you can't really pass on the bottom, and you know, you get trained down there, and everyone's just so tucked up and close together. And you know, right there at the wreck, they were wrecking up high, so you know, I went down to the bottom to try and avoid it, and there's no grip down there on the apron. So I got cleared, barely. Obviously I wasn't clear, and it's kind of my fault. Really wish Steven would have kind of almost cut me a break there, in a way, because he should know that there's absolutely no grip down there. So it's just we're just all trying to gather it up and save it without wrecking. You know, we've done that multiple times, so I don't really understand why stay in it. I mean, obviously it didn't pay off for him because he wrecked too. But, you know, we had a fast car, passing people on the outside and stuff early on in the race. Just tough to pass overall. So hopefully maybe there's a patch or something coming out. Maybe there'll be more fall off with this cars. Maybe update the draft or something like that. I don't know. But it's I think it's a little bit too much right now. I mean, it's exciting for the fans, but it's really just hectic and not exciting for us in any single way.
From Logan Clampett to Steven Wilson, we've heard Logan's take on it. Steven, what was your take on the incident?
Yeah, you know, everyone's all on top of each other. This package is just how it is. It's can't do anything but basically run over the guy in front of you, or else you're getting run over from behind. So I mean, me and Clampett are not seeing eye to eye on this wreck. I mean, he's telling me to lift. I can't even see him sliding up. I can't see where the car is on my outside. I don't know why he can't just lift himself down there. But, yeah, Derek almost wrecked in front of me, and I'm just trying to do what I can to get through it. I can't see what he's going to do or what the car above me is doing. But, yeah, this package is just hectic, and it's kind of ridiculous.
Pretty simple message in game chat. Steven Wilson, not clear. So pretty succinctly sums up what he thinks of that.
And it feels like in a lot of these battles, it's almost a little bit of doomed if you do, doomed if you don't, Blake. The fact that these drivers don't want to need to be that aggressive. But the problem is if you cut somebody a break, the guy behind you isn't. And you're going to lose spots. So you're forced to always be on offense.
That's exactly the case, and you got to think of the type of racing we've had the last several years where track position, being cutthroat, being aggressive, it's become the new norm rather than an anomaly. But here in this series, now with these cars are harder to drive, guys are going to have to cut each other some breaks. There's some give and take that I think we've lost in NASCAR racing or eNASCAR racing in the last couple of years, and that's going to have to be a thing, again, that we're having so much off-throttle time, and these guys are so close together when they're running like this.
And we'll see how they handle it the later we get in this race. This time it'll be with 18 laps to go. It's an early fire off for Michael Conti, who gets a huge 4-car length advantage to the start-finish line. He'll pull up and take the high entry into turn number 1, and Ottinger's going to be able to defend second, courtesy of a nudge from Graham Bolin. Ottinger sidesteps. He wants to hold off the 4 of Ryan Luza, but Luza looking for a 5th Vegas win, needs help down low, the top side, with a huge run to 3, which will kick the 4-car back to P4.
Kicks him back, and oh man, loose there on the bottom is that XSET machine. He's going to roll a little bit back. A wonderful view right here. You can see Colin Bowden pushing Colin Keister in that 43, trying to get in line to try to make that draft work for them as they fan off into turns 1 and 2. Great shot right there, and another nice little drone cam, chopper cam, what have you. We see a lap car coming off the apron, way off the pace. That is the 16 machine of Blade Witt. Got caught up in an earlier accident, but these guys funneling out and having to keep that track position with so few laps to go.
And I saw Reynolds as well, got a little bit loose there. I think the slow car there as well, the 17 machine of Wilson driving, or Katie Honeycutt, I should say, dropping towards the back of the field. But, you know, we saw the 16 machine there getting a little bit loose. Blade Witt got a little bit out of control, and it just took him so long to get that stability back in the race car that he also lost several positions there. Up towards the front of the field, Ray Alfalo was a top 5 car a little bit earlier on tonight. He's trying to fight to get back there despite having quite significant rear end damage on his VRS Toyota. And then up front, you look at the trio leading this race right now. It is Michael Conti in control, but mid-pack here, there is no holds bar racing 3 wide. It is a number 43 machine sandwich off of 2 as Keister looks for daylight anywhere. And now it's Femi Olat making it 3 wide. He'll go underneath the 18 machine of Zelensky.
And Olat not just content to win. Again, you have to stay in the top 20 in points to utilize that win to qualify for the playoffs to try and fight for a championship. And keep your eye right there on that 15. Blake Reynolds hit on lap 73, so he has tires that are only 15 laps old. The rest of the field came down on lap 46, so Blake Reynolds very quickly cutting his way through the back of the field. You can see he's able to cut through everybody back there and make up some ground. So if we get a caution and get a couple of restarts, kind of reminds me of Anthony Alfredo may have that opportunity on fresh tires late in the going like they did in the Xfinity race this season, which, by the way, Anthony Alfredo, a spotter here for Briar LaPrade, so a little bit of a shout out there. But Reynolds right now, fastest car on the racetrack just about. So those fresh tires may pay dividends if we get one more restart where he's able to crack the top 10.
And coincidentally enough, you talk about that tire advantage. Breyer's one of the drivers with some fresher rubber. He's got about a 16 lap or so better tires than a majority of the field, but the best tires right now occupied by the likes of Garrett Lowe and company. Even further on down the road, Lowe's tires about 27 laps better. Question is, though, do you have enough time if we can get some laps in under here to get yourself towards the front of the field? The 46 Xfinity Mullis slides back a little bit further on down, but up front, almost a waiting game. Single file, nobody forcing the issue yet because your moves are much more consequential now. You go to the bottom and don't make it stick, you get it a little bit loose, you're not going to make up those 3-4 spots you throw away. So these drivers, I think, very methodical about what their next steps are. You're on board with Casey Kerwin in P5 with 11 laps to go.
You can see him almost leaning towards that mic, trying to perhaps get a little bit of talk going with the team. Again, he's got Ryan Luza, his XSET Gaming teammate, just 2 spots in front of him. Can they form up and try to make something work? Again, the draft and being able to work together is so important in these cars. To make a move for the win, you almost have to have somebody work with you. So Kerwin, I'm sure, hasn't queued up yet, but That's what all these guys are doing. They're trying to plan out that move in their head that they had in those pre-race meetings. Try to decide where they're going to go. What lane are they going to run? Are they going to run in clean air, dirty air? What are they going to do? That's what they're trying to sort out right now.
And you can see a little bit of an advantage for Michael Conti up front, opening up a gap over Nick Ottinger as the 25 get a start to run out of options. Can he stay on the back of the 8 machine? He'll have that big draft difference. Conti right now 189 miles an hour. It's 191 for Ottinger. So the draft gives you about 2 miles an hour of speed. Of course, Conti sending it off into the corner, not behind somebody, though, has the advantage. And Nick Ottinger, I think, going to need to be more concerned with Luza behind him. The 4 pulls up to the bumper, doesn't want to fight him yet. And look on board with Colin Bowden here on the inside line. A lot of counter steer. Hold on. He was all kinds of sideways and hangs on.
My goodness, again, that's what I had racing with them earlier. And again, best hairdo in the series by far. That number 69 car got some really nice hair in that e-racer machine. But again, that's going to be such a killer for both he and Ray Alfala, who you see running side by side. They both had to check up. They're going to lose a little bit of that lead draft, but a wonderful job of saving it. We know how hard it is to do in these cars, and Bowden can at least do that, trying to save these race cars.
Working hard and running out of time. Now 7 laps to go from the desert, and Conti still holding the advantage. Lose a 3rd, Bolin 4th, and Casey Kerwin, as you mentioned, is 5th. But you also got Garrett Maines up there, Corey Vincent, and Michael Guest, the top 8 drivers, and then a bit of a gap back to the likes of Colin Bowden and company, in which we were just watching. Again, they sit single file at the moment, biding their time. Kerwin going to look underneath the 48 as Bolin opens up the inside for a little bit, but he'll get the better run off of the corner and hang on to that. You look at your drivers sitting 2nd and 3rd spot. That signature Luza lean as he tries to almost will that car to rotate through the corner. He is all over Nick Ottinger. A touch that time in the center of 1 and 2.
My goodness, and you know, the one interesting thing about Luza is most guys will lean towards where they're turning. Luza's leaning the opposite way. He's turning left and he's leaning right. I've never quite understood that. I know there's a couple of guys out there. I know Garrett Smithley, one of the lean stream out there, that loves to lean when he drives, but I've never understood the counter lean that some of these guys have, like Ryan Luza. But you know what? It works for him.
G-forces, man. It's the G-forces.
Yeah, there you go.
Pushing them through the corner as they need a little bit extra here, and Michael Conti opened it up, one of the biggest race leads he has seen tonight. There is some traffic up the road, that lap traffic all going to the outside line, so Donovan Strauss and Zach Novak will stay out of the way here for the most part. You have to wonder, though, when will your race leaders catch them? Conti is going to get clear, but it's going to hurt the entry here. The 25 and the 4 can't get up to the outside wall. That'll slow them down, and here comes Luza fighting for 2nd.
And Luza going to try to make that inside work. He'll side draft there with Nick Ottinger, try to pull him back. It doesn't work, and Graham Bolin going to be able to make that ground up. But a counter to the point that we heard a couple of these drivers talking about. They said they were on top of each other. Look at the gap that Michael Conti, without any draft, has managed to pull. 6 or 7 car lengths now that Ottinger's managed to lose to Michael Conti, as now they go side by side for 3rd and nearly contact as they head into turn 1.
He is all over this right now, and now the 25 dives down to shut the door. Slides back up as well, trying to manage both lanes is Nick Ottinger as Conti gets further and further ahead. Side by side for 3rd. Luza underneath Bolin. They're side by side behind them as well. In the fight for P5, it's Maines underneath Kerwin. Corey Vincent watches on from behind. 2 to go, and a bit of paint swap in there between the 4 and the 48.
And again, this is exactly what Conti wants to see in his mirror. He wants to see them fade, but he doesn't want to see him running 2-3 wide here with 2 to go. All he has to do is get to the white flag, a little bit of contact there. Ottinger going to have to go high to block, but right now it is Michael Conti sitting pretty up at the front.
And he needs to get to the white flag for this race to be official. Now 5/6 tenths of a second ahead of the battle for P2. White flag in the air and 1 lap to go.
1 lap to go for Michael Conti. Again, up several car lengths, but again, we're going to keep our eyes right here on the battle for 3rd. Ottinger staying clear. Luza and Graham Bolin duking it out, but down the Long Nellis straightaway, it's Michael Conti setting the course.
You see a bit of a smile off into 3 and 4. The longtime veteran gonna hang on. Third straight season, he'll find a victory lane. Michael Conti wins at Las Vegas. Behind him, Ottinger hangs on to second. They were 3 wide behind him to the stripe, but it is Junior Motorsports in victory lane. Michael Conti with career win number 12 takes sole possession of 4th on the all-time series wins list.
And what a popular win here. Michael Conti, very respected. Obviously has been in this series since he was young and yet has had staying power, and every single year he's been in this series has been a contender and will solidify that here in 2022. Second race of the year. He got it done in the season opener last year, but already Michael Conti getting that all so important win. As in 2 races, we have 2 different drivers to visit victory lane, keeping right on pace with what we had last season.
And as he celebrates here on the front straightaway, it's a jackpot for Michael Conti. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. P4 last week in Daytona, a race win here this afternoon. Conti is hot to start 2022. And I know that Alan had mentioned pre-race, not sure if he was buying that we'd get 10 different race winners. We saw a record amount of individual race winners in the regular season last year, and it's a long way to go. But at least off to a good start. 2 different race winners to open the year, and Conti celebrates with a clean number 8 Chevrolet, leading a race-high 75 laps en route to the victory here tonight. And as he whips it around one more time, let's take a look at our Coca-Cola move of the race. Led laps throughout, but it goes back to this battle early with the 42 machine. A bit of a slide that opened up the door, and as the 8 car went back underneath, he retook the race lead and really never looked back from that point. Saw the opening and executed it pretty clean off into 1 and 2, and did a good job of playing defense.
Well, I think he proved how strong he was right there. Lost the lead on pit road, went right back and took it. And of course, Michael Conti never looked back after gaining control of the race. He just had so much speed in that WR1 Sim Chassis Chevrolet.
So it's another performance for Michael Conti to go to the record books, the past series champion, as eventually now a 12-time race winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And Blake, you've got him dialed up.
Michael Conti, yet another winner. You got it done in the season opener at Daytona last year. How does it feel to leave race number 2 as a winner in 2022?
Blake, I'm beyond ecstatic. Last year was crazy with Daytona and the way that everything fell out. That was just a really good situation for us where we got put in a good position. We kept it, but tonight and the 2 weeks leading to this were completely different. The amount of preparation that went into this car was like nothing I've done in a very long time. And I'm just thankful that I had the guys around me to help me get here and to have this kind of performance. This was a super good car. It made it really fun and easy to drive. And I'm happy to break in a brand new house, a brand new room, brand new scenery with a win here for Junior Motorsports, WR1, and everybody that supports us. So super proud of that. Adam and Anthony did a great job spotting and crew chiefing tonight. So yeah, man, this is pretty awesome.
Well, brand new scenery, but yet still a perfectly placed trophy down there in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. But, Michael, I want to ask you, I talked to you in person a couple of weeks ago, and you were very optimistic about looking forward to 2022, what you thought you had for this car. Does this only confirm that, and are we going to see you go on a tear here in these next couple of races?
Yeah, Blake, I really hope so. The last couple of years for me have been more about defense and not really offense. I feel like I haven't had the pace that some of my teammates have had, and I've always been looking in the rearview mirror and not out the windshield. And I haven't been racing the track, but I've been racing people around me. And we've been consistent. We've made the playoffs, but I never felt like I had the pace to get up there and really shake it up. So to put the amount of time that I personally have put into this car since it came out a year or so ago, to put that time in and to see it pay off, I feel like the learning curve for me compared to a lot of the rest of the field has been a lot less. So I'm thankful for that. And grateful for the opportunity that EPI gave me to jump on board with them and help them out with their program. So that and everybody around me that's helped in the last couple weeks to put this car together, really just super, super thankful to have such a great group of guys around me. Couldn't ask for anybody else. And as far as the tear, I'd love to win multiple races this year. It's been a while since we did that. So hopefully we can keep the momentum going and give them something to worry about at Atlanta in 2 weeks.
All right, Michael. Well, again, we'll let you enjoy it. Congratulations. And I think you may even have a teammate here, or at least a very good friend that may want to wish you well.
Well, Michael, I hate losing to you, but good job, man. I got to lose to somebody. Man. It's a good friend, a good teammate. So great work out there.
I let you have the pole the last couple of weeks, so the least you could do is let me get a win. Okay, I feel like it's a fair trade.
Oh, next week's coming. Atlanta. Be nice to the auto boss there, buddy. Come on.
I'll keep it in mind, definitely, man. Good job, and thank you for everything you've done for me over my career. I appreciate having you, and couldn't ask for a better teammate, friend, and somebody to race alongside with. So appreciate you.
Sure, man. We're not done yet, though.
Not done yet, and very, very sportsmanlike behavior from your top two runners tonight who qualified top two. And Nick, it seemed like you had the speed to kind of be there all afternoon. What more did you need there in the last 20 or so laps? Because Michael just seemed to pull away, and it was difficult to keep up.
Yeah, our Logitech G machine was ultra competitive tonight. I mean, anytime you stay up top 5 the whole race, it's good night. And the car is a challenge on adjustments. We're still learning as we race this car. I'm glad to get TSM as well as second place, one spot short. But, to be able to contend with Mikey, we just needed to clear the edges of the splitter. I mean, we're just too low. And once we got, the compression into turn 1, we just had to stay out of the throttle a little too much. So, fact of the matter is a solid night, a really good learning experience for where our cars were dealt with our handling woes a little bit still. So that just tells you how much more pace we have in our car. And, we're going to, 2 weeks time, we're going to Atlanta where we finished second last year. So hopefully we're bring one spot better and get us in a victory lane like we had the 8 machine.
That's one concern I heard amongst some of these drivers, that in-car adjustments seem to be a huge swing. I know even Door Bumper Clear was mentioning it in the NASCAR Cup Series this weekend. So is that something you found? I know talking to a couple of guys, they felt like in-car adjustments, rather than, making a little bit of a difference, it seems to make big swings in the race car.
Yeah, it does, because, I mean, you're pretty much sealed as much as you can. Even when you're not trying to be. It's just the fact of the matter is you're carrying so much speed. It just does a lot of, variation change dynamically. That's why it's so important, to have this car, handling the way you need it as a driver. And, tonight we missed the mark just, a little bit. We're about a notch behind on that, I'd say. But, we qualified up front. We're going to do the same thing at Atlanta, hopefully. And, at the sky's the limit with this team. Our Logitech G partners, TSM, Warren Byron Esports, glad to get them a second. But, race victories are what we want. We rebounded from a poor finish at Daytona, but this is what we're used to. Running up front, staying up there, and battling for wins.
We expect nothing less out of the William Byron Esports Chevrolet. Nick, congratulations on second. I'm sure we'll talk to you a little more as the season goes on.
Sure, you guys have a good rest of your night.
As Nick Ottinger in second, but talking with third place running right now out of the Charlotte Phoenix. Again, a new outfit in the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And Graham, unlike the two I just talked to, you had to race your way through the field, started in 17th. So how are you able to cut through the field and get on the podium here tonight?
Just being really passive. I try not to make a lot of aggressive moves. I was just picking people off not left and right, but just staying up on the top, picking people off who went to the bottom and trying to make moves, because you couldn't really make moves on the bottom unless you had help. So I was just being patient, letting the race come to me, and then trying to be less aggressive, I guess, and just get some points, because what happened at Daytona, I got spun coming to the white flag. I was going to get a top 5. So I'm glad I rebounded with this result. It really makes me happy going into Atlanta, because that's a good track for me. And I'm excited for the updates to the car. And honestly, I really like this car. And just off throttle time, I love it. So yeah.
Well, I was about to say, with less aggression, do you think that's a little bit of a mindset change? With last year, we know you had to race really aggressive, maintain your track position, and you kind of mentioned a different approach. Is that something with the changes we've seen this year that you think will benefit you going forward, is not quite as much aggression?
Well, last year I started off really slow, and then I changed my mindset like midway through the season, just like was less aggressive, and I tried to be, and then I started cooking off finishes like every week. So after I changed that, like last year like Kansas, I think it was, I've been being pretty consistent and not being as aggressive. So yeah.
All right, well, sounds like a young driver starting to mature. Graham, congratulations again. New outfit there with the Charlotte Phoenix. Does a solid job there, finishing in P3. And Evan, it wasn't just about our top runners. Again, we saw great racing all over the racetrack all race long. And I think it's no better showcase than this battle we had just behind our race leaders for the second and third position.
Yeah, we wallowed it all the way through to the back straightaway, right? And then saw Conti come across the start-finish line. But I mentioned 3 wide, and you can see it all here. It's behind Ottinger, who's sitting in second, bowling up on the outside, Luza underneath him. But Casey Kerwin's the one who really tries to make this interesting, as both of those X-Set Chevrolets come into the picture right there. The 4 pushes up on the door of the 48 machine. Kerwin's going to get pushed a little wide there, and then basically just pushes his way right through the middle. A 3 wide photo finish, and of course, they end up crossing the start-finish line. Bolin 3, Luza 4, and Kerwin 5, but they were fighting and scrapping for everything. As we take a look at our Coca-Cola full race results, already mentioned the Conti, Ottinger, Bolin, Luza, and Kerwin top 5. They finish ahead of the likes of Corey Vincent in P6. Garrett Maines comes home in 7th with Michael Guest in 8th. Colin Bowden recovers for a top 9, and it's a good start to the year for Femi Olat, who's in the top 10.
And again, some surprising runs when you think about guys like Ray Alfala, Bobby Zielinski. Briar LaPrade was spun to the outside wall and rebounded for a 16th, so plenty of drivers. Malik Ray got destroyed in that same accident. He finishes in 19th, so a well-done job for many of these drivers, even Matt Busa. We talked to him earlier. We thought he was well out of it. Still rebounds for a top 20 finish, and I think that's one thing we're going to see time and time and again in this series, that there's going to be a higher attrition rate, so you may be in an accident, but that doesn't quite mean that you're out. So we take a look even further back in the field.
Yeah, a lot of big names fall back there. All the young Bordeaux all started inside of the top 10, but get involved in incidents as we end up with 25 cars on the lead lap for this one. And we're headed to Hot Atlanta, to the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. 2 weeks time, Blake, for the third race of this 2022 season. And I mentioned off at the top, tonight a very important night, because we're going to take a lot of what was learned here this evening and apply it to round 3 in 2 weeks.
Certainly so. And again, Atlanta Motor Speedway, a track that every driver just loves being a part of, and should make for a really interesting race in these cars.
And we're looking forward to catching you next time out as the road to $300,000 continues. But until next time, that is it for us here tonight from Las Vegas. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing and NASCAR, and our entire team at Boston and behind the scenes for bringing us to you, for James Pike on a pit road, for Blake McCandless, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Michael Conti, another first-time winner here this season. He locks himself into the playoffs and goes to 4th on the all-time wins list. We're back, though, in 2 weeks' time on Tuesday, March 15th, for the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. That race and every race of the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively here on iRacing and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Till next time, good night from Sin City, Michael Conti in Victory Lane again.